Hey, what's up guys? I'm gonna unbox and review the new Ninebot Max G2, or I should call it the Segway Ninebot Max. I have my original Segway Ninebot Max that I've had for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years by now, and it works really well. But they've added a whole bunch of stuff to this that was kind of missing from the other one. Granted, this one is going to retail for more than the other one, but they added front suspension. It has a higher top speed, 22 miles an hour, has a longer handlebar, and a lot more stuff. Alright, so we got the power wire, and it's really nice because you don't even need the AC to DC brick. Granted, it does have that port as well for faster charging. Has an Allen wrench and some screws for the handlebar. It has the extender for the tire pump. Get a little thank you note and a whole bunch of manuals. First of all, it needs to be activated to reach full speed, and there's a QR code right here to scan. And for this one, it says you need to plug it in for 3 seconds so the scooter can be powered on for the first time. Taking a closer look at the new Max G2, I have the older Max right next to it. For a frame of reference, you could see that the new Max G2 sits much higher, and you can also see that the handlebar is wider. It's longer than the older one, which is very nice. It does make it slightly less portable, slightly more difficult to put in the trunk, but I think it's a welcome improvement because the Max does have a slightly narrow handlebar. Aside from that, we have this part for the folding mechanism. Kickstand's pretty much in the same place. Again, it sits higher. We have the front suspension as well, so we could see that right there. And we have, I believe this one still has front drum brakes, just like the older Max. And the folding mechanism seems fairly similar. We got some reflectors, we got LEDs. This screen portion looks almost pretty much identical. And everything else, I mean, so this was the bell for this. This one looks like it has an electronic bell. Also has some signals, so we could see that, you know, left and right there. So these are supposed to be super bright as well. I think the light's supposed to be bright as well. Alright, so the charge port right here for the cable, and then there's a separate one you can get for even faster charging. Granted, this one's fine for me, and it's very similar to how the original one was. So folding the scooter is pretty easy. You pull this up, pull this down, take this in, latch it in, and boom, you're done. It's decently heavy. Not the heaviest scooter, but a little more on the heavier side for the smaller scooters. Granted, it does have a more powerful motor, it has full suspension and everything else. For the controls, it's a familiar feel. We have our front drum brakes, very bouncy, really nice. Hold to power on. Once it powers on, you could sound the horn. You can hold it, or you could tap it. And then we have our signal, super bright, front and back. And on this side, front and back, so super bright, easy to see, which is always a good thing. Tap it again for it to turn off, and then we tap once, turns on the light, tap again, turns off the light, double tap it, go to eco mode, double tap again, go to the standard, and double tap would go to the sport mode, which goes up to 22 miles an hour in the US. We have our clip for the folding mechanism, and we have our throttle, which is a kickstart. In order to access the full speeds and everything, they want you to register with their Segway Ninebot app. I've already done that with the GT2, so I just added a vehicle. Super easy. You just get near it, uses Bluetooth, you're good to go. We could look at our battery percentages. It is 15.3 amps, if you guys are wondering. It's currently at 71% charge. I just charged it for like a minute or two, which you need to do for it to power on. You could set a password, cruise mode. You can enable that. I'm personally not a fan of cruise mode, but there are 2 different options, so I just have it disabled. And energy recovery, this is essentially the back brakes. I have it on strong. By default, it's on weak. You could put it in walk mode, and then for more functions, you could do the light effects. You can say brighter when braking or flash when braking. I prefer the flash when braking. Cruise mode, energy recovery, we talked about that. Walk mode, if you want to put it in walk mode. Charging limit, so you could set it to 100% if you're planning on going longer, but if you want to prolong the battery, you could set it to stop at 80%. And then we have the imperial, metric, and imperial units. We have the start speed, if you want to adjust that. So you can, I'll just leave it on the default, but you could put it all the way up to 3 miles an hour for the start speed. Locking function, you can put the direction indicator, so the signals, you can have them make sound. I don't want that. Abnormality alert, and then custom settings for sport mode, and then enabled sport max mode. So this one, boom, 22 miles an hour, good to go. So I took this thing out for a spin for a few miles to get a better feel for it, and some things are immediately noticeable. Number one, the scooter feels more premium than other typical budget scooters. Granted, it does cost more than those. Number two, it has a more powerful motor with noticeably faster acceleration and a slightly higher top speed of 22 miles an hour. Number three, the wider handlebar does make it easier to balance compared to the original Ninebot Max. Number four is it's a premium riding experience because of that suspension, and also because of its raised height, it feels more versatile. So I'm less worried about dropping it from a curb and doing a tad bit of off-roading. I mean, I don't want to go as far as saying going off-roading, but I did ride it on grass among a few other minor things, and for the most part, it was fine. And the self-healing tires also do add some confidence. So I rode it in various scenarios, from the streets to the sidewalks, grass, and some hills with some fairly steep inclines in both directions. So to test out the motor and to test out the brakes. So let's start with the flats. It takes me up to 22 miles an hour with good acceleration. Now, not to be confused by the insane acceleration you get from a Segway GT2, but thanks to its powerful peak 1000 watt motor, it does have fairly good acceleration, definitely better than the other budget scooters that I have. Now, on the streets, it's very smooth. It's also very good on the sidewalks thanks to the pneumatic tires and the full suspension. On the grass, it is, it's also pretty good on the grass. You do feel a little bit more, obviously, and it does go a bit slower when you are on the grass, as expected. Now, let's get to the hills, which is where most budget scooters suffer. Now, I did get this on Indiegogo for a budget price. However, the retail price is going to be over $1,000, so that's really getting outside of the territory of budget. So this also did suffer on the inclines, and it wasn't, but it's not like the other budget scooters where I kind of have to do the zigzag motion. It still went straight. It still did make it for any hills I attempted. I even did this one crazier hill that I don't even attempt with some of the other budget scooters, and it did that one as well. It did slow down, but it was capable of doing it, and me being a little over 200 pounds, is not exactly helping the situation, and that's 91 kilograms. If you are lighter, it should fare even better for you. For the downhills, it does appear to exceed its maximum speed limit. According to the GPS Tracks app on my iPhone, it went a little over 23 miles an hour. Granted, I did not see that on the screen. On the screen, I saw it no more than 22. Now, I also tested the brakes. Now, the electronic brake is not as useful when you're going downhill because of, gravity. But with the regular brakes and that, good to go, has a linear feel. Again, these are not like the full hydraulic brakes like you would get on the GT2, but for what it is, it does work well. Now, if you're considering the scooter, it is very good, especially because I have the older version of it. I've had it it's going on 4 years now, something like that, and it's lasted quite some time. Now, I don't ride that one every day because I have a whole bunch of other scooters, so it's not like my exclusive scooter, but whenever I do ride it, which is once in a while, it still works fine. So it is solidly built. It has a better top speed compared to most other budget scooters, has the improved ride quality thanks to the suspension, and fairly good acceleration. I also like the bright lights, the signaling and everything, so it does make it more visible at night. So in a nutshell, anything better than the scooter means now you're kind of going to a dual motor scooter that can go much faster, has much more power, can do the hills very easily, but they do typically cost more and are less portable. So, if you want to fly up the hills, definitely get something more powerful. You could get the Apollo Phantom, which is very good, or you can get the crazy Segway GT2, for example. That's way more fun, hands down. So I'd say this scooter is really a good balance between portability, speed, and a smooth ride. So let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below, and as always, thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.